The Parlor-Car Ghost. The seaside cottage my friend Sarah Pine owned was all decked out in blue denim. She asked me to go with her when she opened it up for the summer, saying she was a bit nervous about doing it alone. I'm always up for an adventure, so I said yes. I was surprised by all the blue denim, though. Blue doesn't really look good on Sarah. She usually wears red. Sarah noticed my surprise. She can't see very well, but she can tell what people are thinking. "You don't like my curtains and tablecloths, do you?" she asked. "Neither do I, but I did it for him. And now he's resting peacefully in his grave, I hope." "Whose grave, for goodness sake?" "Mr. J. Billington Price's." "Who's that? He doesn't sound interesting." "Then I'll tell you about him," said Sarah, settling into a chair right in front of the curtains. "Last fall, I was leaving here for New York, riding on the fast train called the Flying Yankee. Of course, I thought about the Flying Dutchman and Wagner's music about the spooky legend, and how different things are now with steam trains and all. Then I looked out the window at the countryside. The horizon seemed to curve as the train zoomed along. Every now and then, I felt like I saw a man sitting in a chair a few rows ahead of me, on the other side of the train car. Every time I saw him, I'd look at the chair, and it was empty. But it felt like a trick my eyes were playing on me. I even used my magnifying glass, and the chair looked even emptier. There was definitely nobody there. But the more I knew it was empty, the clearer I saw the man. It was always at the edge of my vision. It made me nervous. When new people got on the train, I was worried they might sit in that seat. What would happen then? Someone put a bag in the chair. That made me uncomfortable. The bag was taken off at the next stop. Then a baby was put in the seat. It started laughing, like someone was tickling it. There was something strange about that chair. It was seat number 13. When I looked away from it, I felt like the person sitting there was watching me. You really can't give in to those kinds of thoughts. So I pressed the button for the train attendant, asked him to bring me a table, and pulled out a deck of cards from my bag to play a game of solitaire. I was trying to figure out where to put the 7 of spades. "Where can it go?" I said to myself. A voice behind me said, "Play the 4 of diamonds on the 5, and you can do it." I jumped. The only other people on the train were a couple on their honeymoon, a mom with 3 little kids, and a really serious preacher. Who had spoken? "Play up the 4, madam," the voice said again. I looked back over my shoulder. At first, I saw a bluish cloud, like cigar smoke, but it didn't smell like anything. Then I saw more clearly and saw a young man. I just knew he was the person sitting in chair 13, even though I couldn't see him before. He was a salesman, and he was a ghost. Of course, a salesman ghost sounds silly. They're so alive. Or you would think a dead salesman would be really dead and not walk around. This ghost looked like a regular guy, friendly, pushy, and businesslike. But his face had a look of despair and terror that made him even stranger. Of course, it's not nice to let a stranger talk to you, even about something as simple as playing cards. But a ghost? There's no rule about how to talk to a ghost. My dear, it was terrible. That pushy guy showed me how to play all the cards and then asked me to shuffle them again so he could give me some good tips. I was too surprised and scared to talk. I just played the cards like he said. I did that so it wouldn't look like I was talking to thin air, and so people wouldn't think I was crazy. Then the ghost spoke again and told me his story. "Madam," he said, "I've been riding back and forth on this train ever since February 22nd, 1891, 7 months and 11 days. All this time I haven't talked to anyone. For a salesman, that's pretty hard, you know. You know the story of the Flying Dutchman? Well, that's almost my story. There's a curse on me that won't go away until some kind person. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That day, there were 4 of us traveling for different companies. One sold wool, one sold baking powder, one sold shoes, and I sold cotton. We met on the train, sat together, and started talking about our jobs. Those guys were bragging about their sales, even though it was Washington's birthday. The baking powder salesman made it sound like he'd sold more than a whole can of his stuff could hold. I told the truth, that I hadn't sold anything yet. Then I made a promise, not a little joke, but a big, serious, heaven-defying promise, that I'd sell a whole case of blue denim on that trip, even if it took forever. We talked, and when the train stopped at Rivermouth, we went out to get some beer. It's really good there, you know. Sorry, I forgot I was talking to a lady. Well, we had to hurry to get back on the train. I tripped and fell under the wheels, and the next thing I knew, they were holding an inquest over my body. I was lying on the undertaker's table, wondering which of the jury would want a case of blue denim. Then I remembered my big promise and realized I was a ghost who had to wander around until I sold that case of denim. I tried to talk to people a few times, offering them a good deal on the denim, but nobody noticed me. The verdict was accidental death, negligence of the deceased, railroad company not to blame, and the deceased went out for beer at his own risk. The other salesman took care of my body and wrote a nice letter to my family about how friendly and good at talking I was. I wish I had been less impressive that day. I could have lied about my sales, or I could have said I hoped for better luck. But after that promise, I was stuck. Back and forth, back and forth. On this train, in seat number 13, for all eternity. Nobody suspects I'm here. They sit on my lap. I'm lucky when it's a nice baby like this afternoon. They pile stuff on me, bags, blankets, even train brochures. They play cards right in front of me, and some of them are terrible players. You, madam, are the first person to see me. That's why I spoke to you, and I didn't mean to offend you. I can tell you feel sorry for me. You know the story of the Flying Dutchman? He was saved by a good woman. In fact, Senta married him. Now, I'm not asking for something like that. I see you're wearing a wedding ring, and you make some man happy. I wasn't the marrying kind, and I'm not a marrying ghost either, and that doesn't matter anyway. But if you could, I don't think you need them. But if you wanted to do a good deed, a kind thing, I'd be eternally grateful. And you could have that case of denim for $72.50. That's a good price. It's selling for $80 today. Interested, madam? The poor ghost wasn't a great speaker, but his eyes looked really intense and eager, which was scary. Something, maybe pity, maybe fear, I don't know, made me decide to do it. I decided I didn't need that fancy white and gold evening cloak. Instead, I gave the ghost $72.50 and took a receipt from him signed J. Billington Price. Then he smiled, happy, and thanked me with tears in his eyes. He went back to seat number 13. I felt a bit dizzy several times on the trip, even though I didn't see him again. When we got to New York and everyone got off the train, it felt like a strong hand was holding my arm as I went down the steps. As I walked through the station, my bag, which wasn't heavy at all, felt lighter. I think the ghost from the train car was walking next to me, carrying the bag, even though I was still holding the handle. I even thought I felt his cold fingers touch mine a couple of times. Since then, I haven't seen any sign that the poor ghost isn't at peace. I hope he is. But I never expected or wanted the blue denim. The next day, though, a truck from a big wholesale store came to our door and dropped off a case of denim with a receipt for the same amount. What was I supposed to do? I couldn't go around selling blue denim. I couldn't give it away without people wondering why. So, I used it to decorate the cottage. And you know what that did to my complexion. Feel sorry for me, dear. And believe me, even though I'm a silly woman, I saved a soul at the cost of my own vanity. That's my story. What do you think? The end. If you like the story, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Was there anything that surprised you? Who's your favorite character in the story? I can't wait to hear your thoughts.